What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Trail Theory Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Alex.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Pfeiffer.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Trail Theory Podcast. How are we doing tonight, boys?
Good to see you.
Or
This afternoon.
Is it this afternoon, or is it the morning?
We
don't
did talk
know.
about this a recent episode.
Yeah,
We always say
We got to keep the audience guessing.
Yeah, it was the one 2 weeks ago we talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I just edited it today.
Nice.
Behind the curtain.
Hey, don't show your work. No one asked
okay.
you to show your work.
It's okay. No, today we're gonna give the mic to Alex.
Yeah.
Well, we all
Because
have
we stole it from him last time.
Because the last time we did an articles episode, none of us allowed him to speak.
That's right. It's
And share
typically what we
articles.
like,
Right.
but for some reason we're just going to give it all to him
So
tonight.
today is articles by Alex.
A lot of
You
pressure.
need theme music for that.
A lot of pressure. So who wants to start?
Articles by Alex. Who wants to start?
These are articles written by Alex.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And,
This is actually
yeah.
just slam poetry by Alex.
So
just the
slam
entire
poetry.
hour.
Yeah, typically what we do is we all come with a handful of different articles in the backpacking and outdoor world, whether they're
Right.
new articles about news that has happened recently or maybe something that's a little older that we've come with. But yeah, dude, we've steamrolled Alex.
The last
we
one.
finished the last episode and he's like, I didn't bring up a
didn't
single
do
article.
one.
Well, and I think I had I was ready right at the end to chime in, but I was like, I'm not gonna. Why am I starting this now? We were kind of
We were riffing really good
We
on
were
the
an
other
hour
ones.
in.
Yeah, so,
It was good.
And we were an hour in. I get it.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
So,
So
fill the hour. Go.
this episode is all about you.
it's all you.
It's you, buddy.
We're just riding the train
As
right
much
now.
as you would think this feels really good, it actually kind of is a little weird. But
Well, you know what? It's good that you. I have about 6 articles that I was going to talk about too. So if you can just be quiet for just a moment.
let's just
and
start
I'm
with
gonna
those
go ahead.
6. We'll get
I
to
will
you in
say-
59
We'll
minutes.
get you started,
I'll
buddy.
start with the 6 here. So the first episode I want to. No, I'm just kidding.
So I will ask the question: did anyone come with an article?
No. On purpose.
No.
I
Wow.
know.
I did not.
I came unprepared on purpose. I came prepared in the sense that I didn't do anything.
Same.
Right. Because it's your
buddy.
episode.
Wow.
No pressure.
Listen,
At all.
you give me an article and lay it out there. I'll talk for 40 minutes on it.
Listen,
but,
there's one on here that we could talk about for the whole hour.
Start with
whole
go.
hour.
Go. I know, because you think it's going to piss off Austin. I don't know what it is, but I'm picking up on the
Is it
fact
that
it's
one?
going to piss off Austin.
You're gonna do that one first?
I'm not going to start there.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I just...
Oh man.
Today he sent a text in the group and said, "Hey, I've got an article that might peeve Austin off something fierce." And
I mean, you're not gonna, you might be peeved.
Well,
yeah.
well, yeah.
we'll
I mean,
see.
I think
You'll be heated, but
I think
but
you're
it'll be
phrasing-
good dialogue.
You're already feeling.
I'm ready.
I can see him adjusting.
I'm ready to go.
You're
Look at
right.
that.
he's got combat
You're good.
stance going. He's like,
dude,
yeah,
I don't.
he's ready.
You think
He's
I'm
ready to
gonna
go.
back down? Do you know me?
Never back down.
All right. Well, we'll start off with maybe an easy one. I have a number here that I'm kind of excited to talk about. I also have kind of a hot take between these first two. So, and it's a dumb hot take, but I see it on Instagram and I got to bring it up. So the first one is there's a missing hiker in Yellowstone
Currently.
Oh, geez.
And so what I found the most interesting about it was, and I'll share the title of it, that way it gives us a little more context, is the dad of a missing Yellowstone hiker vows to keep searching even as the odds grow thin. So the crux of the episode, or the article, and why it kind of caught my attention was missing hiker.
Yeah.
Son goes missing. He went to do Eagle Peak in Yellowstone, which is a pretty remote, a remote peak, right? So very deep in the backcountry of Yellowstone, kind of away from a lot of the more established stuff there.
Did it say how old the kid is?
Let's see. I think
Maybe he's not a kid. Maybe he's an adult.
Dad
I
and
don't
son
know.
makes it sound like it's a kid, but
Yeah.
I bet it's not a
Yeah,
kid.
no, okay.
Yeah.
So it looks
He
like
went out by himself.
he's 22 because
Okay.
I see the
okay.
missing
Okay.
the missing person sheet. He's
Yeah.
22.
Okay.
And he had gone out. The plan was to do a 7-day trip, 5 to 7 days, I think.
By
And-
himself?
yeah. Do
Dang.
which a little spooky, right?
Huh.
I would say that fact in and of itself is kind of scary, but
Agreed.
it sounds like from the article, and they didn't go into like a ton of depth about his background, but pretty experienced hiker, I would suspect.
Okay.
So kind of how it ended up working out was he went out. Let's see. September 17th was the last contact that they had heard from him,
Man.
and now
it's October 21st
For our recording date, yeah.
Jeez.
correct. So he is still not found. I mean, I hate to say it, but the article, I mean, didn't say that he's, they assume he's dead, but unfortunately, I would have to assume at this point.
Did
I mean,
the
there
authorities
has
give
been-
up
No,
the search?
so
authorities are still going on.
there have been over 100 people looking for this kid, and which is, I think, to me, like a pretty heroic
Absolutely.
thought in and of itself. And that, to me, I thought was really amazing that there was just
That many
undivided
people that were
attention.
ready to go.
They had like a GoFundMe that they were
Yeah.
raising money. I mean, they had a private helicopter.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So what ended up being interesting was, what did I say? September 17th was his last contact. He got to the top. He made it to the
Okay.
top. And what they found, so I'll read you his, like, he scribbled in the, like, there's a book at the
book?
top that you
Yeah.
sign. And to quote, "I can't feel my fingers and my glasses are so fogged from the ruthless weather of the mountains. I truly cannot believe I am here after what it took to be here," King wrote in a shaky script. "I endured rain, sleet, hail, and the most wind I have ever felt."
Wow.
So that fact alone was
heartbreaking,
really scary to
dude.
me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And so the other interesting thought, and why the search halted, was the weather, and then on top of that, and this is interesting too, is the park. So Yellowstone basically told the dad, "Hey, the weather is going to start getting bad.
Yeah.
It's going to start," like, they were suspecting their first snow. That was October 14th. This was when the park decided to turn, like, the rescue chopper down. There's just safety of the storm, and then the park's helicopter was gone, doing, like, something else.
Okay.
And so they were concerned that if something else were to happen,
They'd be out.
resources were,
Yeah.
like, so
Right.
stretched thin
Right.
that
You got
bada bing, bada boom. They'd be stuck. So it kind of made me think back to, I think it was maybe our first Articles episode. We talked about staffing in the enchantments and how
Right.
there's just not enough people to help manage the load of people.
Yeah, going
and
into the park.
it just goes to show. I mean, Yellowstone is huge.
huge.
And,
Right.
I mean, one helicopter. I'm assuming there's got to be more, right? Maybe not.
There would have to be more than
You'd
one
think,
helicopter,
but
you would think.
I don't know.
As far as like rescues and stuff like that go,
Sure.
I feel like, or like
Well, and there might
any
be
kind of emergency, unless they're able to use resources from like Jackson Hole.
Well,
and
there's probably, maybe they have like
private
one
sector.
with the national parks, and then like there might be like more either private or other like state run
yeah,
like hospital or emergency helicopters that they could use in a pinch.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe for like through the park itself they only have one. What's interesting to me about this is the fact that he was going out as a backpacker, because we've talked about before, a lot of the times when there's lost hikers,
Yeah.
it's from day hikes because
Day
you're
hikes.
Yes.
so underprepared,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're
not planning to be out.
right,
Yeah.
and you get into a situation that you're like, oh, I was not expecting to be out here for
Yeah.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
It sounds like he knew what he was getting into as far as the length of time. But based on that note that he left, that he must have just hit something really nasty too on the way down that
Honestly,
got
too,
him lost.
it doesn't take a lot to get hypothermia.
Nope. He probably
Right.
did.
And
And he may
so-
have already
he was
had it.
at
If you are
11,000 feet.
yeah, if you're
Right.
wet and
Yeah.
you're cold, it's a couple
He
hours.
may
Absolutely true, but I bet that he probably got off the path at some point.
He did.
Yeah,
And-
because you
and
would
so-
find, even if it was hypothermia, you'd find him.
So
Right.
that's
I mean,
one of
I'm
the,
sure that's the first thing I did is walk,
That's
Well,
one of the
get lost.
components
Trace the path.
here. He didn't get lost, but it looks like okay. So a ranger who a ranger who encountered King on the trail reported that he departed from his original route and had decided to climb the peak instead. Now, he did make it to the peak,
Right,
so he
right.
handled that
Well, that's
part.
before that. He probably
But
made
down-
another decision
dude,
coming down.
Down climbing is almost it's harder than
the
up
down
climb.
piece, and that's what they're saying is like,
Yeah.
that's probably the challenge.
Man, that is heartbreaking,
So,
dude.
so the other component to it is, and I thought this was kind of worth talking when you talk about trail tech and trail
right,
safety.
that's
so
where my head went to.
he called his dad from the mountain summit and left a voicemail at 7 p.m. that night, September 17th.
That's late, dude.
The message didn't appear in his dad's phone until a week later.
Whoa.
So, and then the state trooper or one of the state folks says, you can tell he's scared, he's cold, and he doesn't know where he's at. Damn. So, I mean, I think about some of the things we've done, and we talk about safety, and we talk. I know we are believers in the iPhone and the SOS feature, but when I started reading it, I started to kind of wonder. I was like, well, maybe it's time to invest in like an InReach or something, and
I think
a layer of security and safety.
We're probably going to the same spot, but if you're going out by yourself,
yeah,
no
Mandatory.
question,
Yeah.
you cannot not have
yeah.
some way of reaching out in an emergency. And if he didn't, I mean, obviously he didn't have one or not a reliable one because it didn't work. But like that's the difference. When we go out, we at least have some level of strength in numbers, and the routes we're doing. If we were going on a trip like that, even as a group, I'd say we must have one. But because you're so remote to the point where even as a group, we've never been anywhere where you can't, in a pinch, say like, I'm going to run that direction. You
And
guys
run
stay
into
here.
something.
I'll be back soon
Right.
enough. Right.
Yeah.
And like,
Arguably, the winds maybe could have been that just from a remoteness, but
Sure.
I agree with the size of the group. We probably, if we were like, oh, we'll just scale the mountain here, we'll climb it.
Right.
Someone in the group would probably have said, no, let's maybe not.
or
do
even,
that.
but even if we didn't, and we said yes, we do that risk assessment as a group, and we okay it. Still,
There's
we're doing
enough
it as
of
a
us.
group. and
As
you're-
a group.
There's built-in safeties.
Yeah.
You know, that we have.
One fall or something goes wrong, we're all into action to
Right.
help
Right.
that,
Together.
and then
Yeah.
get
Right.
out.
Right.
Right.
You know,
And so, but as a single, it's like, and we've talked about this a lot, but it's not, you don't have to do something serious. You could sprain your ankle. It's like,
right, and then you're
And not be able
done.
to, yeah,
that's
you
it.
can't get to a water source to refill up, and then I mean, you could go a little bit without food, but like you can't go a little bit without water.
Sure.
And so, and then if you're cold and you're hypothermic,
And that, I mean,
then
that's
you
the-
can't think.
Yeah.
That messes with your head.
It starts
you
to
can't comprehend
snowball.
things. Yeah,
and things go from bad to worse.
right.
Like,
I mean,
very quickly.
they haven't found him, so let's say
I
that
wonder
there's
if
some
I
hope
wonder
that
if there's an update.
that maybe that he's okay, and that maybe he's found a shelter somewhere. that
Crazier
he's able
things
to
have
bunk
happened. We've
into,
heard of stories
and-
of
yeah.
people being out months.
I mean,
And,
there was that one, literally the last episode, you had mentioned about a guy that was lost for almost a full month.
Yeah, right.
And he was super malnourished and was maybe on the last few days, but he was found.
Yep.
And
It can
so
happen.
it can definitely happen.
The cold weather is not going to help.
That
this
does
dude's
not help.
chance.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Those the note at the top, and plus the voice message, all
Yeah.
likelihood he was probably already hypothermic at that point.
Could have been.
And
He's probably scared
the
shitless,
first,
too.
and
I mean-
you mentioned you caught it right away. But if you're calling from the summit at 7 p.m.,
That's so late.
dude, it's
Yeah.
so
and,
late.
and, and let's consider,
Especially
I mean,
this time of year.
I was going to say a month ago.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's pretty damn dark.
it's getting
at
dark.
7
Yep.
p.m.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're going
on the-
down,
a
you're
struggle
going down
bus.
a mountain, even if you're not climbing down, if you're just going down in a reasonable section in the dark, and it's cold and it's
Yep.
wet and it's windy.
Yeah, and now I'm
That's
seeing
not
that
good, man.
It looks like he worked for the park at some point. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
sad.
there's no update at this point.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll find some level of update in the coming weeks. I mean, hopefully they find him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for his family's sake, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's the saddest part. But
Yeah, that's
but yeah,
terrible.
I read it and I was like, man, this really this is kind of gut punch.
But you know, it sucks. It sucks to read that kind of thing. It sucks that that's happening. But it does put into some perspective, like you had mentioned. It's like, well, maybe the iPhone and maybe the iWatch or maybe those things aren't enough. So like
Well, you know
there
what
is a lesson. So like if you're going to go out solo or you're not sure about the area or you're just nervous to begin with, $400 is a lot cheaper than your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
it's probably just better to just
And it made
be safe about it.
it made me think of the whites, because the winds, but it's when we were there. If I was going solo, obviously I would, no question, get
I mean,
or something.
I think about
the-
some of those trips.
Right,
Going as a solo person.
Oh yeah,
For
but
the
whites,
winds?
Well, the winds too, but the whites especially is what, because when you mentioned the rain and the cold and all that stuff, if I was solo on the whites when we did that trip,
Oh, it would have been hard as hell.
oh my god,
Yeah,
I would
that
have
would have been brutal.
I
Well, dude,
would have been terrified.
do you
I would have been
remember-
scared.
Visibility was garbage. We couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the
dude, it's
only
awful.
reason I had any level of confidence that we were okay
Because you had me.
it was just
just me.
no was
I
because
thought
we were
this
in the
episode
group.
was about me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
It's hard
But,
for me not to make things about myself. That's my bad.
But what's the scary part of that though is if I was there by myself and I didn't think ahead and get an inReach,
Sure.
I probably would have convinced myself I was okay, but I would have
Yeah.
been scared.
Yeah.
So being like, I can picture myself in that guy's situation where it's like, yeah, I got this. And every step of the way you're like, yeah, it's sketchy, but I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sketchy, but I think I'm okay. And like, you can kind of convince yourself
Right.
until it's beyond too late. It's not like you just passed the threshold.
Sure.
You were past the threshold 6 miles ago.
we all read a book that talked about that in one of the passages. Isn't
Right.
it? Isn't it up
It's
there?
right. Is it
Deep Survival.
Deep Survival, yeah,
it's
yeah.
up there.
Yep.
There's a passage about that, almost kind of same thing, where it's like you get too confident and you're like, oh no, I know I'm going the right way.
Right.
And you keep going further and further and further out of the way because you don't actually 100%.
And when-
Well,
when
and
you
you
realize
think
it,
that
you're
ridge is
beyond
right over
lost.
right around
Right.
the corner.
Yeah.
So you
False
keep going.
peaks
You
and-
keep
Oh, it must
going,
be right
keep
here. It
going.
must be right
Right.
here.
And you
That's
get
why they say
hours
like
and
the
hours
best
back.
thing to do if you're lost is to stay put.
Yeah, but even
know,
that, like,
yeah.
and it didn't sound like his was as much of a being lost thing. Maybe it ended up being that at the end, but it's
Just getting caught in really bad
You're
weather.
convincing yourself you can take on the challenge of the weather and the stuff
Yeah,
when maybe
sure.
you're not really prepared enough for it, but you're pushing through anyway. It's like that's dangerous stuff.
Well, and I agree. It's like we all have been out there where we feel maybe like Linville comes to mind when we were real cocky and we thought we could get across that
Yeah,
river.
sure.
Like, I don't know. I mean, one misstep, one miscalculation, and I think, yeah, I don't know if I would personally do a trail that difficult by myself. I'm actually pretty sure I wouldn't, but
Do you have any other
Scary.
articles that don't end in the possibility of death?
I do. I
we hope thoughts and prayers are
Yes.
with that guy.
Ironically,
because
yeah.
hopefully we hear good news later. So
would be
yeah,
great.
and we'll
Yeah.
certainly. I'd like to think keep
Keep
updated.
tabs.
Yeah, I mean, by the
Yeah,
time
so-
this one releases, it'll be several weeks. So maybe if we hear anything,
Yeah.
we'll update.
Okay, so I got to decide here.
Real quick, do you
maybe.
remember when we were at the Whites? I think it was our last day. It was in the morning, and it was crazy foggy, pretty wet, pretty like sloppy.
Yeah.
That was
And-
every moment.
That was, but there was. I remember. I remember it being really cold and windy, and Paul was in shorts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
There's a
That
video.
was
We have a
the-
video of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the night that was leading into
Which
the
is
second
funny
night,
enough.
yeah.
Like I remember doing that, and then like a week later, he was over for something, and it was a 90-degree August Ohio day.
He's
and he
wearing
was
pants.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me, dude?
Figure it out, Paul.
Figure it out." No, but I remember there was a group of like 3 college students
Yeah.
who had gone there for the day, and they were going to day hike. And I don't know if they were doing the Traverse, Presidential Traverse, or whatever.
Was that at that junction point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
planning, and they were like, they were
Right.
like
They were
super
nervous.
unprepared, and
Yeah.
they were like,
And then-
I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this, and
They were chattering.
They were planning the Traverse.
Yeah.
That's what they went out to
Yeah.
do. And they were nowhere near close.
no,
And it was late in the day already, and the weather was bad.
yeah.
So I think they had realized that
They
already.
had to make,
And they're
no,
like-
yeah, they
I
I
think
think
they
they made a decision.
They
to, like,
they
figure
were
out.
recalculating.
But
I
again,
think, at that
imagine
point.
like being in that situation by yourself, like
Yeah. I know they were wearing
whites
like
would be tough.
They were wearing like basically long sleeve like base layers, like track.
No, they were not
underwear.
prepared for what they were
that's the
in.
kind of trip, and I feel like in the moment, I remember the wetness, I remember the cold. I look back at that trip, and I think it was so much worse than it was when we were on it. Like as far as like the elements and that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've heard you say it before, Brian. Like the excitement of it was like what
Yeah.
punched you
Well,
through.
And what stands
think
out
back to it, and
is
I'm like I remember meeting those people at that junction and thinking like, damn, man, my teeth are chattering. Like it's cold as
that
hell.
that
There
was
was that
also
point.
when it was the worst.
There was that point that last day where I know we needed to make sure that no one was going to get hypothermia because it was pouring. It was very cold. The wind was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Gosh.
70-mile-an-hour winds, constant in your face.
Everything
it
was
felt
wet.
like you were getting pelted with a bunch of ice chips and stuff like that. And like it got cold and you're wet. It doesn't take much.
Oh my god,
I mean,
that was amazing. I want to be back in that situation.
I wanna-
right
I
now.
wanna go back, yeah.
I
It was-
do love
yeah,
it.
it was great.
And
I
you're
would dive
right.
into it.
The excitement, you get that like like the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And you get your natural endorphin release. and
Listen,
so it's,
all
it's
I
incredible.
remember is getting to the top and not giving a shit that we were at the top.
Really?
Like, I mean, I didn't go to the physical.
Oh, you're
peak.
talking about like on Mount Washington.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the actual
I
top
saw
either
the
at that
sign.
point.
I saw the
We
highest
were
wind
so-
calculated
dude,
speed. I was
we
just
were
like,
so
let's get
wet.
inside.
Yeah, we
for
were
a
so
minute.
wet at that point. I'm like, I just want to get inside.
And
That's funny.
we found the first because you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you.
Right.
So we found the first building, which
Yeah.
wasn't
It
even
was like,
like
yeah,
the main
here.
building. It was a gift shop.
gift
Yeah.
shop. And we had our packs in there.
Yeah.
And there were like 9 of us.
It was
and we were
tiny,
like,
tiny
we were like,
little tiny.
He was
gift
really
shop.
we were
friendly in
they
there
were
too.
really cool about
we were
stuff,
like,
though.
where's the pizza?
Yeah, we heard there was food, man.
You got to go down this way.
They were cracking. They loved it
yeah,
though.
they
yeah,
did.
they
got
thought
a
it was
kick out of
great.
it.
Yeah.
So okay, next article. Let's bring
All right.
lay it on us.
We're gonna go the complete opposite way.
Well, thank
Okay,
you.
Good. Cool.
Hiker completes a trail.
So
Breaking
well,
news.
no,
Goes on to win $1
it's-
million.
It's gonna go. This was kind of my bonus one, but in the contrast of what I just said, let me read the title of it while it's loading. It's about wag bags.
Wag bags.
Wag
Yeah.
bags. Is that like
Wait,
a
hold
dog?
on.
It's a
Hold
poop
on.
bag.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah,
Dang it,
dog.
I was
like
gonna
a
say
dog
we gotta
bag.
guess what that
like
is.
a dog poop
Come
bag.
on, yeah.
Wa-
So
wait, what did you
Like
guys
a
say?
dog,
it's a
like
dog
a
shit
waddle,
bag.
probably like a.
But I
yeah.
think it's
like
the one
pack
you
in,
hang.
pack out.
Yeah.
I think it's the one you hang on your dog's ass and then they shoot
No,
into it.
no. They're, dude,
I do
oh,
know. I
God.
know. What you're
I've
talking about.
seen
I've
those.
before.
What? Why would
Yeah.
you have that?
So you don't have to pick
so
the
you
shit
can take
up.
it out.
While they
Take it
they
out
just
with
do
you.
it and then you
Yeah.
just take it off their butt and there it is. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen
That's
those?
too close to a diaper.
That's
I
what
mean,
they
it
do with
basically
horses
is.
too.
Yeah,
in
they
the
do it with
city.
horses.
Ew.
Yeah. That way, when you get in a carriage ride, you can
I've
just
been
sit
in a
behind
city.
the
I've seen it in a city. There's just Duke all over.
Yeah,
the place.
road apples.
It's just a bag of shit.
just
in
a
front of you.
bag of
Yeah.
shit in front of you.
Dude,
You're,
I don't-
you're covered up. It's chilly out. You got like some hot
That
cocoa.
nothing
and
about
then
that
just
seems
shit.
romantic.
Yeah, imagine sitting behind. Yeah, that's gross.
Oh man.
That's what Allison always says. She's like, "Yeah, do I want to go on a fucking carriage ride where there's like I'm just gonna sit behind horse shit?" Like, yeah, there's nothing romantic about that. That's the best way to say
You
it.
smell horse
man.
farts for an hour. Yeah.
Okay, so the title of the article is "Hikers are leaving used wag bags on the trail. It's a shitty habit." So abandoned poop filled wag bags are multiplying on the trails. Why does this keep happening?
Hold on. A wag bag is
Dog
just
shit.
a dog,
Humans?
it's
It's a dog
just
shit
poop
bag.
No, it's a human poop
It's
bag.
a human
It's for
poop
humans.
bag.
Come on now.
See,
Why are they called
I
You
wag
guys have
bag?
never heard of wag bags?
I immediately thought of like
I mean-
a dog wagging a tail,
Hold on.
like a
Yeah,
it was a
why
is it
dog
called a
shit
wag
bag.
bag?
Dude, so a wag bag is just like a little plastic bag with odor crystals in it. You shit in the bag, seal it, carry it with you to take it out. It's
So,
it's essentially pack in, pack
These
out.
are the
Yeah,
places
alright.
that we don't go because
I don't want to carry my
we're
shit.
not carrying shit.
You think it's a requirement?
Yes.
For those
Yes.
places, yeah,
Yes.
there
Well,
are
I'm sure
places
they're not
that
allowed.
are.
It's funny that they're following the rule of shitting in the bag, but not the rule of
bringing it
taking
out,
it
yeah,
out with them.
Yeah.
So interestingly
right.
I won't
enough-
shoot on the trail,
Yeah.
but I'll litter like crazy.
Yeah,
right. Why?
So-
yeah, why? Why do that?
I don't
At
know,
that point,
somebody
just
probably
shit in the
does
hole.
it.
Let's
and they
hear it. Let's
realize-
hear about
I'm going
it.
to tell you.
Let's
All
hear
right.
about it. I
We're
can't
getting
wait
way
to hear
ahead
it.
of Alex on this
I was
one.
going to say, like, guys, come
Sorry.
on. All right. So
This is why I can never get an article in.
there are some, I would say, relatively comical comments in this article about. I mean, we're talking about shit bags, right? So basically, the crux of it is, and I would suspect that places like the Enchantments that we talked about before, like they are going to start requiring people use these bags. They're
So
at
pack
the
in, pack
trailhead
out fully.
and they want you to take your shit with you, right? And some people do this without a wag bag, but this is kind of the way of doing it. But so interestingly enough, and I think the part that is kind of mind blowing to me is people, the rangers and whatnot, are suspecting that people just don't understand the purpose of the bag is. So like
what they think they just do it and then it like decomposes faster.
I think that's what people like. There's a misunderstanding. Now, I will also say, and as they say in the article, wag bags are made from ultra durable plastic. They don't degrade, so when they're abandoned on the trail, plastic could stay in the environment indefinitely.
Yeah, it's 1,000 times worse than shit in the you know,
why
in the dirt.
People
Why are they
leaving them is worse than digging a hole and shitting a hole.
Basically, they're saying don't attribute to malice what can just as easily be attributed to ignorance. So people are stupid, and they're like, I'm doing the right thing while they're dropping a plastic bag. Because I bagged my shit.
I would assume that the company Wag Bag is doing their, they're putting the extra effort to make sure people know, like, hey, you need to bring this with you after you shit in it.
Do you think that?
I would hope so.
Well, let's look up the ad for Wag Bag.
Because I'm also wondering, why isn't it made out of a material that would decompose?
Listen, dog, because they don't want it to unload in your pack when you're carrying it.
I understand that, but like, there's got to be a period of time.
I want that thing to be like 900 mil plastic.
There's got to be a thing where it's like after a week it starts to kind of go.
I don't disagree. I think it's a little silly, but
I understand. I understand the idea, especially with a place like that that's so overrun. They are strapped for resources, and there's probably only a finite amount of places you can stay. So the land is just going to turn into a shit field.
There's fucking landmines everywhere. Now they also say wag bags are recommended or required in sensitive areas where cat holes, I love that word, aren't practical or environmentally friendly. And then the person writing the article says, I've used them in snow, scree, I'm not sure what that is.
Scree.
I've heard that before. Is that
desert terrain? I think
he was on Saved by the Bell.
So my guess is it's like, I mean, if you're in the desert, like you're just gonna just unload it, like you're just gonna pull a little bit of sand away, like that's not really burying it.
Yeah, I get
and then
that.
snow, it's just like once
melt.
it melts, there's just gonna be shit everywhere.
So
we did have to shit into a bag on Rainier if we had to go to the bathroom. If you weren't up at Camp Muir where they had toilets.
Yeah. At a surface glance. All right. Cleanwaste.com sells wag bags. And in its description, it goes on about how it's NASA invented poo powder or something, the gelling, deodorizing agent, all this fancy stuff. It comes with a hand wipe, military grade, blah, 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 blah. And can be used on the ground, in a bucket, or in portable toilet. Also fits non-working toilets. Use it, seal it, using the zip close on the disposable bag.
This sounds huge.
Last thing, and the only thing it mentions about disposal.
It's kind of like a lock sack. It's pretty small.
It says dispose of in trash.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was someone who
Does
was
it say
just
it on it?
And this is printed on the bag, right?
Well, this is in the description on the website.
No, that shit has to have it printed on the bag.
I will try. I will see if I can zoom in and see. But the only thing I'm seeing in the description, it doesn't really say specifically, like, this is not biodegradable or whatever.
This is all coming to. I'm getting this all right now.
So I will finish. But if I was someone who was not
well versed in the outdoors
at all in anything park related,
Wasn't
I could see how they're like, oh,
yeah, this is dropping this bag and boom,
this is like a biodegradable dog shit bag. So so go ahead.
That just happens to be thick plastic.
My initial thought was that these were created for this purpose. It sounds like this is just a secondary use, and this is their suggestion: is use a wag bag, and wag bags weren't invented for this exact purpose. Sounds like
I take it back. The
last step on the package.
There's a market opportunity here.
Well, with somebody who can create this thing with the focus on being for backpackers.
So
exactly.
I stand corrected. On the package, the last step, and there's a picture of it, says toss in any household receptacle or public trash. So it still doesn't surprise me that people are just not thinking.
Listen, there's people breaking the rules out there left and right.
That one I kind of buy, though, as it not being malicious, because why would you go through the trouble, like Brian was saying, of shitting in a bag if your intent at the end of the day is just leave it there?
It's just
you're just going to shit on the ground at that point.
I agree.
Like it's so much extra hassle and potentially shit on your thumb.
Hopefully, to do it in the bag. Because maybe this is fairly new. Do we know how long like some of these places have been asking for wag bags to as a necessity?
It didn't.
I can't imagine this has been something that's been going on for 10 years.
That's the one I saw.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wag bag sounds like a modern phenomenon in backpacking due to.
It's not. This is not a backpacking kind of thing.
This
is for camping or for like a portable like.
Yeah, you'd put
potty.
It like in a 5-gallon pail or whatever, and
exactly.
you'd shit on that, and then it'd be bagged.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's just a blue bag. It doesn't say anything on the bag.
All right, I'm just bringing a Ziploc.
That's a product error then.
Yeah, you'd think the company would at
print
least
that
say,
shit, like, take this
print
out.
it on and be like, hey, please throw away in a trash.
And I wouldn't. I mean, also if they design the product specifically for, it may be for camping, but there's other uses for that aren't just like recreational.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
you could need that,
tailgating.
You know?
I mean, you could pop something up,
right.
shit in a bag, zip it up, and be done.
Now,
yeah.
There's that could be like you live in a place where you lose water or like you lose plumbing for a period of time. That would be part of like that'd be part of like a doomsday.
It
or
also
like,
could be really great
sure.
podcast content.
It has to do with
to
poop.
have one of you guys to poop in a wag bag.
I'll poop in a wag bag. You kidding me?
Off camera.
Yeah,
How easy is it to put? I'll do what down
Off
here. You
camera.
want to smell my shit?
Come on,
it's
it's gotta be on
It's got,
camera.
it's
It's
got
gotta
the
be on
deodorizing
camera.
crystals.
Yeah, buddy.
let's test
see.
that.
Let's see how well those crystals work. We'll eat
my
Taco
God.
Bell one night.
I'm going to start a wag bag
This sounds
company
like
for
an awful,
backpackers,
awful
and
idea.
on the side of it, it's just going to say, "Take me with you."
The whole Instagram video will just be blurred.
Yeah.
And then and they'll just hear us say, "Oh my God, it smells like shit."
And then hopefully, oh yeah, it doesn't smell that bad.
I think so.
I'm not going to be here for that one, guys.
The part that I would say annoys me, I mean, first off, I guess if it's bagged, I'm not going to step on it. I will say, and I think we talked about this before, the Red. Outside of Hanson's Point at the Red in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Yes.
Going off those little off trails where we camped, I've now been there twice. Landmine City.
For sure.
It is like these.
Because there's a huge
why are people going
amount
on
of
these trails
over there.
They're going down here to poop.
Yeah.
There is freaking toilet paper everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Down
let me
that
ask
road.
let me ask this question. Do you think there'd be any benefit in, because I'm thinking of like composting toilets and stuff like that. So
Right,
obviously
yeah.
some trails we've been on have the latrines where it's,
right.
at least they gather it all
The
up. And
thrones.
thrones. Of creating a product that accelerated that process and contained it. So you still shit in a bag, but maybe the intent is to bury it because it has something in it that actually
Yeah, but
accelerates.
you're putting a chemical. It's
I was
going to
say it's going to be
chemical-based.
unnatural.
You can't do
Yeah,
that because
you
you're
can't
putting
do it
something else
naturally.
that's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
not, that's
would
not
say
leaving no trace.
the best, like if you're having a shit problem on your trail in
Pepto.
your area, you would think that like, well, again, this just isn't feasible to have like some of those like, what did you guys see in the Adirondacks? Those little like squat,
the thrones.
Yeah, the
thrones.
thrones.
Yeah.
Privies.
Because like
Yeah.
privies.
cool, it probably isn't much to like figure out how to build one of those and where to put it, but
It's a hole in a box,
But
and
it
they just
also
move the box.
Someone's got to.
right.
Someone's got
to like
dig her
maintain
out.
it and
Right.
like do the
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah,
that's
the
the other
hole's
thing.
gotta
Is, like,
be,
not
like,
everybody
4
have
feet
those.
deep.
Not everybody
Yeah.
can have those resources.
Yeah,
for
I
something
think
like
that's
that.
like the bigger issue is as hiking and backpacking grows in popularity, there's not going to be less poops on some of these trails, and I know we're going to eventually do an episode on popular trails. Like there's poop problems on all these trails. I mean, we talked about it in the enchantments, and I have to believe there's going to come a time where we're gonna have to use a wag bag. So I guess my question is, would you guys use a wag
Oh
bag?
yeah, I mean, if I had to, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the thing: once you shit in a hole, like I guess there's the next threshold that we haven't had yet, which is like carrying it with you. So I that's going to take some getting used to. But I mean, come on, there's ways to get over that. Like,
Yeah, Pat, put it on the outside, man.
right? I mean, there's
Get a whole separate container that you would use, and it's just
Right.
It's just
Well,
a dry
do you
bag
think-
for that.
Hold
It's
on, though.
shit, guys.
Do you
Like-
think it would need to be in your bear canister if you need one of those?
I would just put it out. No, I would put it outside.
Is it
I don't
gonna
give a
attract
shit.
a bear?
It wouldn't be going in the tent.
Yeah, no, I would just. You could.
I mean, if you
But
had
that-
Chipotle, you might have some day 2 corn in
No,
there.
you could- oh no! No.
Oh man.
No, at that point you just take that bag and you put it out.
Take it back
to another
Take it
area.
back.
So wait, I'm gonna
There's a bear walking
say
around
this.
with a wag bag in his mouth like, I'm going to get this one.
I'm gonna say this right now.
I don't care if the bear eats my
Corn in
shit.
this one.
If we ever get to a point where we need to have a bear bag and a shit bag, I'm not doing the shit bag. Someone else is learning that. I'll handle the food
To
bag.
hang it?
We're gonna hang it from another tree.
Imagine
You won't need it.
hanging
Someone
a
else is
wag
gonna
bag.
have to
You
do it.
won't need to hang it.
I
You'll
know.
just put it on the ground.
More like
I
a
know.
gag
Plus-
and then
bag.
collect it afterwards.
Plus the thing that you're whatever,
I don't know,
whatever
man.
you're storing.
I think it
in,
needs to be where whatever you're doing with your food.
whatever
no,
you're-
because the
All right, we're gonna look.
the problem with the bear getting the food is that it will constantly go back to that area, and it will also depend on getting food that way instead of getting it its natural way, right?
Sure.
So you don't want to do that, and you don't want to bring bears back to a certain camp spot,
Right.
So if the bear's not going to want to just eat shit, so if you have your shit in a bag that you place
Somewhere else.
like we would with the bear cans somewhere else that's
Yeah.
250 feet away from your campsite, that's the same thing as the bear can
even
thing.
if it did come up,
It's
and
not going to
Yes,
notice
it's
the
not-
shit.
Yeah, if it took
what
it
if
away,
rips open the bag.
That-
That's
who
fine.
cares?
Then
You're
it's
not-
done.
yeah,
Yeah.
but then you have to pack that out. It's a
Yeah.
shitty ripped open
Well,
bag.
this
that scenario is
hypothetical
very, very low.
is
All right,
so
all right.
ridiculous.
The internet provides.
Yes. I'm telling you guys.
This is the funniest thing I've ever Googled. Maybe. Do I need to hang my wag bag while backpacking? I should have searched for full.
Gross.
The first thing that comes up is yes, you should hang your wag bag when backpacking to keep it away from animals. So, and then it says animals like mice and marmots may eat poorly digested.
I didn't
feces.
think about mice.
Now, and then also, I'm seeing another thing that says if you. The next question is: do wag bags go in bear cans? Not mine.
Not
So the answer is if you are using a bear canister, that means figuring out a way to store poop with food or bringing a separate poop storage canister. Otherwise, wag bags must be hung.
Bro, I'm not
not storing
bringing
my shit
two
with my food.
canisters.
Don't
I'll
shit
tell
where you eat.
that.
You have to.
You're hanging it.
You're hanging it,
Dude,
Wow.
Okay,
That's
so
crazy.
in that
I'm not
Glad
just,
I'm not
just
hanging
not
it. I'll
going
hang
to
the
those
food.
if
areas.
you're
Someone else is hanging
using
the
a
shit.
bear can
Yeah.
and the reason you would use in these situations you would use the areas where we've used a bear can, it's because it's either mandatory,
Right.
There's nowhere to hang a bag.
there's nowhere to
not
hang a
hang a
bear or a bear bag, or there's just like such a heightened alert of animals
Right.
that it's your food's going to be gone and you're going to be without food for your
Right.
trip.
Yeah.
If I'm without my poop bag for a trip, I'll find a way to get through. So it's like I don't care if I'm getting it away from camp,
Yeah.
hanging it wherever
with
I
you.
can hang it. Like I think that's solvable. I'm less offended by that.
Yeah.
But I agree, man. I'm not keeping that.
I can't wait for our next day hike. I'm bringing the wag bag
with the crotch, pot. Yeah.
and the crotch, dude. Yes,
Yes.
double fisted.
Just have the crotch pot in the front and the wag bag
Yeah,
sitting
just
in the
hanging
back.
there in
just
the
hanging,
back.
just
Oh,
waiting.
man.
God.
You're prepped
Just
for
waiting.
Baggy
Every
man.
season, yeah,
Bag
man.
man. Yeah, the whole
Wow.
thing is interesting to me.
It is.
Well, one day we'll be presented with that conundrum, and we'll have to figure it out. And I'm confident
I really think eventually it will occur.
Yeah.
It will occur
It
for
will.
sure.
Damn.
Already in my Amazon cart. Let's go.
Can't just burn it.
No.
You want to sit there?
I
Start
know.
a forest
burning
fire.
I know.
This guy.
No,
Right.
Brian, you can't.
You know what?
Yeah,
though?
the same place that requires a wag bag is probably not going to let you have fires.
I have seen
Touche.
somebody talk about burning your toilet paper and stuff like that in the hole that you had dug for the cat hole for your shit. You have to have like, I don't know if this is probably not part of Leave No Trace, and it's probably not something you should do, so don't do it. But they had like a water bottle next to them, so if it did get out of control,
Yeah,
they could douse it really fast. And they doused it after just to make sure all the ashes were done, and then they buried the rest of the stuff on top.
extreme.
But like,
What?
That's a lot.
That
Yeah.
I will say, and I've
a
thought
lot.
about this a little bit. I need to do some research.
And it's definitely not leaving a trace.
What's the
don't think so
most?
either.
Yeah, because then you're scarring the ground a little bit.
You're not supposed to
I mean,
start
it's-
fires outside of
Yeah.
those designated
Yeah.
spots and stuff.
I have more of an issue with that than just burying it, I think.
yeah.
Um,
Because there's just more chances for other things to happen.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
variables. So is there a better toilet paper that's more like biodegradable?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, for sure.
They make them.
Well, they make they have backpacking toilet paper that's thin as
it's very thin, but
any public bathroom.
The stuff that I get on the way to the trip.
The white toilet paper, the standard white, is going to has a ton of other stuff in it.
Isn't all toilet paper white?
Well, no. I mean, if you
yes, all toilet paper is white.
All store bought, whatever.
But
I'm sure you can see the stuff, but it has other stuff in it than just
half ply.
paper.
Sure.
Right. So I mean, even by using standard toilet paper, you technically are introducing
The best
other
way
stuff.
to do it is just to do the bidet thing.
Yeah.
You bring a
With
bidet with you.
You bring
Get
a water bottle
whole
specifically.
water
You
bottle,
bring a water
yeah.
bottle specifically for a bidet. We've talked about that before.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard about that, go look it up.
All right, 20 minutes on shit. What else we got?
All right.
Another 20 minutes on shit.
Yeah, I feel bad making that an item.
No,
but-
it was a great one.
No, it was
But
good.
Good content.
Honestly, hey,
I feel like
I'm gonna
someone
say-
asked me about
I'm gonna say-
a wag bag.
Can't
in
wait
a
for all the
comment,
emails about
so-
wag bags.
That, and also I'm going to say kudos to us because honestly, we haven't talked about shit
In a long time.
in a long time.
Nice.
I think you're right.
I think we're actually going to get people that are going to comment on this and say, "I've used one," and
Oh, I'm
Please
sure.
do.
that
Leave
are
a
going to
comment
say
below or
that
you shoot us
they
an
would
email.
use them. Because I feel like someone made a comment once on an Instagram post or something that was like, "Have you guys ever used these before?"
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a
I do
story
want to
or
say,
might have been an
speaking of the email, we've been getting a lot of emails lately. We really appreciate that, guys. It's so much fun to read and listen to you guys' stories, and we are sorry that it took so long to reply. We had a little bit of an issue with our email. We're back
Technical
into
difficulties.
it. Little
We're
technical
back.
difficulties. We're back. But no, please keep sending emails. It's so much fun to hear from everybody. Thank
Yes.
you.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
All right. We got two more. This one's going to take. I'll go to the one that I think is going to be a lot. I think it's a really cool story.
I'm excited.
Let me pull it up.
Let me go shit in my wag bag real quick.
He's reading the whole thing before you.
Lighten up a little
I'll
bit.
just
for this
read.
one.
I'll read the title of the article, and we can all. I sent it to you the other day. All right. This mom thru hiked 2,000 miles with her 13 children.
Whoa.
It wasn't easy.
Oh, really? It's hard to go to Chili's with 13 children.
It's
hard to
hard
go to
to
Chili's
just have
with 3.
13 kids.
Yeah. Anything with
She
any
has
amount
more
of
than
children is
13
difficult.
kids, but 2 of her kids were not able to make the.
Dang.
So
How
what do
is
you
it
think?
possible
Because they were
to
too
have-
old or too young.
They
How
were
is it
too old.
possible
What
to
do you
have
think? What do you think
All right.
the age range is?
Oh, that's exactly where I was going. I'm like, you have 13 kids.
No, she has
Then-
15 kids.
Well, you have 15 kids. So
2
the
didn't
spread,
because they were like they had jobs and they couldn't
Right.
take
yeah,
the time
I'm
to do
sorry,
it.
Mom.
The-
My wife won't let me go.
the spread is at least what 22 years.
More than that.
No,
I mean,
it's
if you're-
not
if
that
you're-
much.
No, I was going to
Oh,
say.
really?
I mean, technically, you have a kid a year.
I mean, you can't have a kid a year, but I'm factoring in the fact that maybe they didn't. But I mean, so 20. It's anywhere between 15, 16, 20 years
Listen,
spread.
some people, once you
20.
pop the fun,
It's
don't
15.
stop. So
For that long, that consistently, I mean, dang.
How many? Would you
Listen, man.
funny enough,
if
they're the
you-
Pringle family.
If
so
you
no.
have 16 children, like, yeah, once you get going, there's no stopping.
Okay.
My
Okay,
guess,
that's
my
a lot
guess,
of children.
My guess is the oldest of 15 is probably
19
closer
years
to
old?
No, probably closer
Okay,
to 30.
hold on. I want to start from the youngest.
Yeah.
Don't go with the oldest. Start with the youngest, because
They essentially the whole AT over 2,000 miles.
Because I'm thinking of a number. I know
5.
we've had this conversation before, and for people who did not listen to this, I have a little bit of a problem bringing little children, little toddlers or younger out on trips like this. So just tell us the youngest so we can get this out of the
Let's do
way.
guesses.
It's got to be
Let's do
6,
guesses.
6 years old. Is the youngest 6? It can't be younger than the 4-year-old that did it, right?
Well, I mean, it could. There's
No,
nothing
because
stop-
then it would be world record breaking
Brian-
kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Brian,
So-
I'm with you on 6. I like 6
Yeah.
as a good low number.
I'm
Pray-
gonna.
please, Lord,
I don't like
hold
your
on, hold on.
face.
That's where
Lord,
I
let
was-
it be
you
6.
guys all say a number, and I'll
Is it-
tell you.
is it
I was
4?
gonna hold on. I was gonna go 6, but to be the different one, I'm gonna say the oldest is or the youngest is 10.
No way.
Wrong.
Is it 4?
It's 4.
Oh my god.
All right.
So The oldest is probably, well, assuming, I don't know which two couldn't
oldest
go,
18,
but the oldest
19.
is maybe
Squad,
18,
man.
20, something
Check out
like
that
that.
squad. Look at the squad. There, we'll share
Dang.
a photo.
Let's share a photo. That's a lot of
group-
kids. Those
yeah,
are a lot
dude.
of kids.
Dang.
Youngest
Wow.
is 4. Oldest is 19.
19.
Okay.
Yeah, I
But
said 18.
you said the
19
two
makes
older
sense.
the two older kids couldn't go.
Yeah. So
So
interestingly,
20, 21.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
adults and
That's-
can
okay.
make their own decisions.
yeah. Now I will say, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes here in a minute. They are planning a 2026 trip to do the Continental Divide Trail,
Wow.
and
It's all part of their homeschooling
and
curriculum.
They are homeschooled, and
duh.
Yeah,
and
you
the
have to
other the other 2 kids are coming.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so there'll be 15 of them.
Yeah.
16 including the mom.
Well, I'm sure it's the
Is
father
the dad going to
around.
go?
Okay, so here's where we get into
The dad
meat.
is
Here-
working to supply all the funds in
No,
order
he's-
for them to do that.
Unfortunately,
He
Brian,
passed.
it's worse than that. He didn't pass. So the story kind of gives a little bit of background about the family and that kind of thing, and then so kind of where it gets a little sad is the pandemic happened.
Okay.
The husband left, just straight up abandoned family.
What?
Whoa.
So 16
Whoa.
kids.
That was it. That was it. 16, 15 I can handle.
Yeah.
16, I'm out of here.
No, 16, I'm good. 16 and a pandemic?
Whoa.
Screw that.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
so,
Come on,
so,
man.
so that's really sad, right?
That's
and I
terrible.
think the silver lining of this, and what I think is really cool, and what I think makes it compelling, is this family banded together,
Yeah.
and the mom talks about how they were changed as a family when they did it together, and they band together, and like they had to do this. That's all
Sure.
they had.
Right.
They were in a tough spot, and like the thing that really like struck a chord for me was, and I'll talk about some of the details, right? She said, this is when I started, I'll go back to how she got here, but she talks about, this is when I started to understand that the AT was much more than a trail. There's this magical community of people who go out of their way to help you have an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
And so what got her there in the article was there's I don't know all of the depths of this, but I can kind of put the pieces together. There's shuttle drivers for the AT,
Right.
And like people like who help
Trail
you out.
angels.
Yeah, exactly. And what ended up happening was they had met 2. I think one was named Smokey the Bear, and then one was something else. But
So trail names.
yeah, and they're these drivers that kind of help out, and this one guy, I think it was a gentleman who was helping them, basically decided from whatever point he met them, he's like, I'm just gonna follow you guys and,
Just
and
join.
caravan
Right.
you. So he joined them.
That's awesome.
But by
Wow.
car
That's
to be like their support group.
Right.
Wow.
So and like in the article, she talks the mom talks about how like they started really slow, like their packs were monster crazy heavy at the
Well,
start. Like
yeah.
I think she said she had a 90-liter pack that was over 50 pounds.
I was gonna say she had a 4-year-old in one pocket. She had
Yeah. Now she does
Dude.
say for like a lot of the trail, like the young kids, the youngest of the group, they carried. Like there was a lot of carrying the kids, which
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, like
Yeah.
2,000
4 years
miles.
old.
Right.
Like think about what we did at the Whites. They had
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that. And,
Yeah.
and there's 2 moments in the article that I thought were really telling and fun, only because they're 2 areas that we've done as a general group. So one was the Whites.
Yeah.
It's like the article starts about talking about the Whites and how everything online that she read, this was like the part that was just going to be like the Achilles heel. It's just going
Right.
to absolutely destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, is the most nervous and just all the above, which I think is crazy because we've done it.
We've done it, yeah.
And I think back at it, and I think if we did it the opposite way that we did it, yeah, I would hate it. But we'd get through it. And,
Yeah.
and I honestly, I think of all the trails we've done, like it would suck. I think it would suck more in the context of like, oh, I've been hiking for days and months.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Now I
doing
gotta
that.
do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just doing that like in the context of like a single trip like we
Yeah,
did,
it
probably
was
not
great.
as bad. And then the other one is, and it's the halfway point, is Harper's Ferry.
Harper's Ferry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did that.
Yeah, and they took 2 0 days there. And I will say, I don't know if it was before or after the roller coaster, which I personally I thought was a total pain in the ass. And it was like not the most ridiculous thing I've ever done,
Yeah.
but harder than I think I originally thought.
Sure. Yeah.
they took 2 0 days at Harper's Ferry, and they were kind of really reflecting on, are we going to do this? Like they were halfway.
Right.
I think there was like some exhaustion. They were kind of like kicking around, what they were going to do. And the mom was like, all right, we're going to take a couple days, regroup, figure out if everybody wants to keep doing this. And it was unanimous that they were all like, wow, we're going to finish this thing. So,
wow.
Pretty freaking crazy story.
I think the crazier part isn't that they did the AT; it's that there's 15 children.
Yeah, and I think the only, and I'm obviously curious on Austin's take, but from this type of article that came up was when a young kid, and I know my take on it was that, like, I'm all for that as long as you're doing it safely and it's not forcing the kid into doing something that he doesn't want to do. So family was all on board. It seems the only I think it's awesome, but logistically, holy shit. I can't imagine.
How do you find a camp spot?
I can't imagine trying to navigate.
So she did talk about that. The article talks about it.
So I will say this. This one, I'm not as, I don't even know what the correct word is for it, but when you have a family that large, the mom is not doing everything.
Right.
There's a lot of older kids who are helping take care of a lot of the younger kids.
19? I mean, 19's an adult. The oldest one's a 19.
And that's not just for if you're going to do the AT. That's for, dinner any
right. Sure.
night, right? Yeah. So again, I don't love a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old on a trail like that for 2,000 miles. I don't love that no matter how much support there is. But I will say that having family there that is absolutely going to help support those younger children get through that. But also, like you said, the AT has a massive community where people are always there to help. And so if you are going to do a through hike, I feel like that one is the most supportive because it is the most famous. It's so, it's famous for its community support. So I'm not as offended. I still don't love it. I still don't love the age of the younger kids. But
I was a little hung up on that. And I think about my own kids. Like my daughter's going to be 3, and doing that in a year.
See that's
in
where
the context of that. It
doesn't get to at that point. If I equate it almost to if a family decided that we're going to be homesteaders now. If maybe they live in the city, very used to, it's like, hey, we're going out somewhat remote. We're getting land. We're going not necessarily off grid, but we're going to go, it's out. Right. And there's people that live just fine in more remote areas that don't have instant access to all the things we do that, don't have the plumbing that we're used to, and they make it work. They have a system that works for them and septic and all that stuff. And it's like, they're not camping, but you can live that way when you have to be more independent, and especially if you're a family that size living out there. I mean, it's
all hands on deck,
right?
Too, right?
Everyone has their jobs. Yeah. Everyone's supporting each other. It's like I equated almost to that. If you're a group, even with young kids, that makes a decision to do that, it's very possible. I mean, humans have been around a long ass time, and it's like that shit was done. It can be done still.
I think that's different than walking thousands of miles, though. I think that's the part maybe Austin is hung up a little bit more on because of the physicality of having to walk that many miles per day.
It's partially that. It's partially it's maybe a little bit it's definitely the physicality, and of course you said they were carried for part of it because you have
safety.
to, because the kid's just not gonna a 4-year-old's not gonna be able to handle that.
Well, and the safety of the person carrying that child, I mean that's
that's the other thing. Imagine going in through the boulder section in the whites carrying a kid.
Child. That would suck.
Yeah,
be tough.
I don't know.
Awful.
And you say everybody when they got to Harper's Ferry, they were deciding it was unanimous yes. I still don't think that the 4-year-old probably had a choice, even though they were probably jacked and let's do it. It's still
in the context of the conversation, the 4-year-old's not coming up with really strong cases to say no, right? Let me give you I've really been thinking this out.
It might sound like an extreme.
Been alive for 1,500 days.
It might sound like an extreme comparison, but I don't think it is. Using the same homesteading example, a family like that who's really off, and maybe they have their own farm and really are independent. 4-year-olds can do chores. They're going to be out. Sure. I mean, it's 4-year-olds are not only capable of sitting at home and watching Blue's Clues. They can do a lot.
You hear that, Zach?
We're not we're not used to it anymore. But
3.5.
if that family makes a conscious decision, like we're gonna do this and do it, like then everyone gets those roles, just like we do when we go outside.
Yeah.
We don't make fires every single night. But when we go out,
But we could.
Yeah.
we have those roles and we adopt them and go and you get used to it eventually. That same thing applies to a 4-year-old or 6-year-old.
I agree with you. I think people our lives are capable of more than what we, I think, equate to normal.
Yeah.
And I think homesteading is a good example for that because, I mean, yeah, like you don't have to have the creature comfort. Like we're really pretty, like we live pretty comfortably, right?
Yeah.
As a society, and I think that's the thing to consider, right? So it's, I guess, just fascinating. I think it's crazy that the family did it. I think for me,
I like that.
Yeah,
that
I like
part, that part about it, like remove the age, and I think that's the piece that
A family band together in a difficult time in
and
their life.
was made it happen.
Honestly, the most concerning part to me would be like food. And
So-
not just amount of it, but like when I think about my kids, like I want them eating stuff that's not freeze-dried meals out of a pack or peanut butter sandwich every single day, even though that's what they
but
want to
dude,
do.
when you're doing that,
Yeah,
But
but
there's no choice.
Right. So, but
Yeah.
that's like, that would be the downside to me is like, okay, we're going to be out for months, which means I'm signing this kid up to eat,
But
whatever
you're
I can
not
fit
doing
into
that
that
every
pack.
day though,
Yeah.
because think about it. They're going into town. They're taking zeros. They're
Yeah,
eating at
yeah,
restaurants.
you're
they're
right.
staying
They're
in a
gonna have that.
hotel.
Yeah.
They're
I'm
not
sure
on the
there's some
trail every
flexibility.
single
I
day.
got to be honest though, like that's a movie, dude.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Dude,
I
father
agree.
leaves.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
take those kids
Dude,
across the
all right,
AT.
we've got a new product we're making, and we're getting into cinema.
We're writing
I
a
got-
movie.
I got some
Yeah.
producer
Boom.
friends out in LA. We're gonna
Let's
make it
go.
happen.
Let's do it.
I need to go
Alright.
talk to this lady and get the full story, in detail and make the movie.
What's the lady's name? Maybe we'll have it. Call us.
That'd be
Shoot us an email.
How
We'll
awesome
talk
would
to
that
you.
be?
You have your phone number out there,
Yeah.
bro?
Yeah. We got a
Trail Theory Pod
phone
at
number.
Gmail.
Let's,
We'll get back to you in 3 years.
Actually, we got a
don't have
caller
that.
on the line right now.
It's 555-332-1191.
The lines are lighting up. The lines are lighting
Yeah,
up.
Nikki Bettis is her name.
Nikki,
It was published
email us,
October 17th.
and I would be happy to talk.
It's a
with
hell
you.
of a story, Nikki.
So
if
the
you ever
thing
hear
that I
this.
think is kind of crazy, and she talks about getting the resupplies from like Walmart's, and this part made my head spin a little bit, and it's just because it kind of sucks. She said that they would take like there were times where like Walmart would be like a mile or two away, like from where they were at, and they would take multiple trips to get there.
Because they
lot of
do
food.
shuttles
Yeah.
back and
A
forth.
lot of food.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
I would love to just like.
I want to know all the details.
I want to know all
Listen.
how much you get. Like there had to be. There's what 13 of them total plus the mom, so 14.
13 kids. Yeah.
13 kids at 14.
Yeah.
We got to get her on the pod.
That's like 200 pounds of food.
I would feel a lot better if I knew she did not have much of a social media presence. Maybe that's the issue I had with some of the other
That
ones.
was
is that,
you were heated on that.
I was more
where
heated. Be
you
like,
felt like
you're
it was a social media play.
subjecting these
Yeah.
kids to like, oh, this is not about the kid. This is about that's what my biggest problem. But I think between this one and that one is like this one's like a family bonded together, doing something strong together. The other one I felt like, oh, it's for
Exploitation.
you, dude.
It's
It's
an
not
attention
for
grab.
anything else. So, that's cool. I like it. I can't wait for the movie.
Yeah, we'll watch it. We'll have a viewing party. So on the heels of that, as we kind of wrap up, the one thing I did just want to touch on, just because we're talking about the AT. Obviously, there's been some hurricanes recently, and it was kind of on my list to talk about. I know we're kind of running out of time, but there were a few things in some of those cities that were really decimated. And like I was reading an article about just some of like the support and like those caretaking places where it's like those like hot months. Ironically enough, October's a hot month. I think in the one I was reading where it was like, oh, we make most of our year in these like 1 or 2 months from through hikers, and they're not, they're going to have to rebuild, and unfortunately, like places that have housed so many of these hikers and people that have done the AT, and I think it's just sad. So shout out to like all the people that are working their asses off to get it back to what it was, and like obviously, we're weeks away, not months or years, and it's going to take a long time to really bring that back. I mean, I'm hopeful and optimistic that the community will raise those people up. And
What's
bring it
amazing
back.
is like that those same people affected in those areas are the ones standing up and then helping everybody else.
Right.
So like you're seeing that community support from people who are just as equally devastated, but that you talk about Asheville and stuff. It's like the the swell of people coming together in that community to help each other out. And then obviously from external, everyone pouring in, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
But just
goes to show
the
humanity,
local,
man.
Yeah, and just
cool.
and your local. If the shit hit the fan, look around you and like where you are. Those are the people that are gonna be right by your side, going through it and helping you. And it's like that's cool, especially if you're in anywhere near the AT. That already kind of exists because
I think being on the AT, there's probably already like a little bit of a notion that like you're just a helpful person.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some that aren't, but
agreed.
I like to think that everybody has a positive and optimistic outlook. So personally speaking,
that's a
Good
very
for you,
positive
bud.
outlook.
Yeah. Right. Good for you. Yeah.
So
Thanks for sharing, Alex.
That was great. That was a good episode.
lovely.
And guys, good job on not bulldozing him on that. That was really.
I mean,
we did a great job.
We were
almost
close, though.
We did only do 3 articles, and typically we do much more.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It was good quality, though.
They were quality articles.
Quality was kind of shitty.
Quality.
It was a little shitty.
Quality over quantity.
That's right.
Yeah, I have others, but we'll have to. I'll back
Wait for
those
next
for
time where you don't get
to say a single word.
Does that mean every other episode you just doesn't talk?
Alex articles.
Alex articles.
If you guys are
going to
have a side text before that one and be like, all right, dude, choke him every time he starts talking. Just cut him off.
I don't care if it's an article about the outlook of the WNBA season. Like we need to just put a new article in there.
Right. Yeah. Chokehold.
Oh man! If you guys have any articles that you read that you think we should talk about on the podcast, shoot us an email. Let us know. The email is trailtheorypod@gmail.com. Leave us a comment down below. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, and we will see you next time.
Daddy's got a brand new wag bag.
The Trail Theory Podcast is sponsored by Audimute and Audio Technica. Music by Dan Koch.